I was called a coward by Ben Shapiro.
Megyn said, quote, "My goal and my job here is to try to understand where Candace is coming from on this. That is a moral and logical absurdity."
The last text I have from Ben Shapiro said, "Our friendship is too important to both of us to make it depend on whom else we are friends with." The next thing I knew, he was standing on the stage at Turning Point calling me a coward for this very thing. So I am convinced now more than ever that there is a crew for whom everything revolves around Israel. The only thing that matters is whether you are standing up for Israel or not. You also must defriend anyone who is raising questions about Israel. I'd rather die than do that, because I'm not raising the fist and saying BLM at the table, and I'm not bending the knee to these bullies who think they can control me.
Okay, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Can We Talk About It podcast. Today, we are going to, before we get into, I make more videos about the Charlie Kirk assassination and what Candace Owens has brought to the table. I wanted to do a brief intermission and talk about Megyn Kelly, because she is sort of the last one standing, so to speak, in terms of her commitment to this like Republican standard view. And I have to be honest with you guys, Megyn Kelly lost me when she made those statements about Epstein. And let me just make sure it's the right one, and I'm going to share them with you. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you up on the screen. I stopped listening to Megyn. Oops. I might pause that.
I've said this.
Megyn Kelly is not my cup of tea, and I'm going to tell you guys why, and then I'm going to show you what she said about Epstein. And this is where I was really like, she's really not someone that I care to listen to. Over the past year, Megyn Kelly has made it her business to mock and ridicule and lambaste Michelle Obama and Meghan Markle, and to me, they are low-hanging fruit. They're low-hanging fruit. I don't believe that they are like, those are topics of quality journalism. And I expected more from her. And then I was like, so then I asked myself, like, why is she doing that? Why is Megyn Kelly, why is she going after Michelle Obama and Meghan Markle? And to me, and a lot of you guys are not going to like this, but to me, it was her way of saying, see, you guys, I'm still on your side. I'm still with you guys. Like, I won't say these things about Philadelphia, right? I won't be all pro, but I'm going to still bash Black people, and I'm still going to talk poorly about Black people, because you guys know that at the Daily Wire and at Blaze TV and, all these conservative outlets, that part of being a Republican is that you bash Black people, and particularly after 2020. And so I was like, why is Megyn Kelly doing this? It was kind of weird to me. And, but then I was like, oh, she's trying to keep her foot in the Republican Party, because she wasn't 100% all aboard with Ben Shapiro and the country that he loves, that he puts first. She wasn't all on board with that. And so I said, oh, this is weird. And it's low for you, Megyn Kelly. That's what I honestly thought. Leave the sort of like race baiting content for people who need followers. That's always been my view. It's like, you don't need to do that. But I understand that is part of the Republican ilk. And by Republican ilk, I don't mean like regular people. I mean the Republican stations, the Republican networks. That has been a staple in their programming, is to make sure that their Black hosts bash Black people, and then white people go ahead and do the same thing. So when Megyn started doing that, I was like, this is so bizarre, because it feels very low for her, because she's brilliant. She's intellectual. And I was like, you don't have to do that. And then she said this about Epstein. And I was like, your morals are murky. So let's take a listen.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. and I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean,
and this bothered me because it's like pedophilia is exactly what pedophilia is, which is like actually underage girls. Like, to me, if you have ever been around a 15-year-old, there is nothing adult about a 15-year-old. I'm sorry, but there's nothing adult about a 15-year-old. There's nothing adult about a 16-year-old. They're children. And I was like, why is she trying to make a difference between a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old? Like, yes, we know there's a difference. To me, it's like there's no difference. You are sick and you are unwell if that's who you are attracted to. But this threw me for a loop. And so I was like, this woman is not someone who I'm going to have regularly on my street. Because if you can say this out loud and feel comfortable with that, that's strange. It's strange to me to say, well, he wasn't an actual pedophile because he was kind of into like 15-year-olds. Well, baby, that's what that is. Like, the same thing. Like, to me, anybody under 18 is a child, legally.
only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview.
Yeah, it didn't. So my problem again with this is that a lot of people know what's societally acceptable and they will do what is societally acceptable. And then, but not what's like, because here's the thing. We know in the music industry, in the billionaire industry, that teenagers are acceptable, which is why I'm like, Megyn Kelly, you're sick, because like you've been brainwashed to think that this is appropriate in a way. So that's normal to them, but it would not be normal to them for like an 8-year-old. So I would actually argue what he's actually into is children, but he will settle for 15-year-old to look younger because that's what he wants. And for her to do this and to sort of dance around this was kind of, it was extremely off-putting and a bit disgusting. And then she came out and was like, I'm a Zionist. She went out on Tucker on TPUSA stage and said, I'm a Zionist and I'm pro-Israel. And I thought, this woman she's terrified to tell the truth. And finally, she went on to Tucker Carlson's show and said this.
One more voice who will say something nasty about Candace, she can finally be controlled. How well has that worked so far? But again, the instinct is to stop her speech. Stop it. Well, I have no desire to, and I have no power to. And for that, I was called a coward by Ben Shapiro. They want me really, really badly to condemn Candace Owens. And I'm sorry to break it to them, but I am responsible for what I say. I am not Candace Owens's policeman.
And I thought this was her best interview yet with Tucker Carlson. And here's why. You have to stay congruent. The reason why Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire had so many people turn on them is because of their incongruency. Do you guys remember when Ben Shapiro was like, we don't have to put up a black square. We don't have to, raise our fists and say BLM. We don't have to tiptoe around language. Facts don't care about your feelings, which, by the way, I agreed with. I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, let's not get to a place where we're tiptoeing around everybody and everybody's policing each other's language. Let's not do that. But the truth is that Ben Shapiro didn't want people to do that to Black people because he wanted them to do it with his people. Because they believe they are the chosen one, they are the only people for whom you can tiptoe around your language and where feelings do care about the fact. Feelings don't, feelings are more than the facts. And you should be putting up a blue square, right? So Megyn Kelly is correct in her application of her belief system. She's correct. Yes, you do. If you're telling me that you shouldn't have put up a black square during 2020, facts don't care about your feelings, we shouldn't have to tiptoe, everything's not racist, right? Then the same thing applies to the blue and white. The same thing applies. You have to apply that logic across the board. And I believe that after Ben Shapiro snaked Megyn Kelly, got on stage at AmFest and just essentially shanked her behind her back, Megyn Kelly came to the realization that this is who Ben Shapiro is. So I want to share with you two more things.
Look at this bullshit. I am allowed to have questions about what, if anyone, aligned with Israel or from Israel might have had to do with Charlie's death. I think it was Tyler Robinson. I think he acted either alone or with Trans-Tifa. I got an open heart to he was manipulated by somebody. I do. So I'm fine with those questions, and I'm sorry for people who don't want them asked.
And yes, she is entirely allowed to make that decision. Now, once Megyn asked those questions, I knew she was turning. I was like, okay, she's turning. So let me share this piece. Once you start, you allow yourself to ask questions, because remember, if you look at everyone else in the Republican Party, so all of the Daily Wire hosts, the Blaze TV hosts, they're not allowed. They are mum on Candace Owens, mum, right? Ben Shapiro is sending out his attack dogs. They made their little statement about how crazy she is and how she's becoming a lunatic, but they're quiet. Now, Megyn Kelly was supposed to do the same thing. She was supposed to come out and condemn Candace Owens and then go into her little corner and her life was going to be great. She did not do this. Instead, she said this.
Much of the narrative that is in our news today has been spoon-fed to me by people who are super pro-Israel at all costs.
And this is very important because Megyn Kelly a few days ago, in regards to the Maduro capture and the Minnesota ICE agent killing, she said, when I was at Fox News, I would have known exactly what to say because they told me exactly how to respond to this. And then Cenk from the Young Turks, which is a very left-wing sort of thought bubble, said, yeah, when I was at MSNBC, I was told what to say. You knew exactly what to say because you were told as an anchor, as a host, that you are pro this, pro that. You never speak negatively against the president if he's a Republican, and you never speak negative against the president if he's a Democrat. That's what they were told at MSNBC. So Megyn knows about propaganda because she has now left the propaganda machine. She was at Fox News. She knows that when you're at Fox News, you're not allowed to question a Republican president. You agree with all of their talking points and you just shut up and play along.
Who won't tell the truth about Israel, no matter what it is, and will cancel you if you don't befriend or defriend people who do. And so this whole thing has made me reevaluate. Like, I'm just starting from square one, basically, on Israel right now. And I'm actually day by day taking a much harder look at who are they? What do they do? How do I find real information on what happened in this war in Gaza that I will trust? Because I do know I'm being propagandized by both sides. And how will I make up my own mind? Even some of the narratives that we hear, like I'm not a fan of certainly radical Muslims. And I'm not a big fan of Islam. I'm going to be honest. The tenets of it are political and I don't agree with them. But I have dear friends who are Muslims. And I do start to wonder, like, how much of the very negative messaging about all Muslims, and I've been a part of some of that negative messaging. Don't get me wrong. I'm not wavering from my position that, like, it's not great to have an Islamist running New York City. But how much of the narrative has come from people who are just ardently pro-Israel and need me to hate them.
And this is an excellent question. Why am I obsessed with one country and hate another? And here's what, you guys, I do not believe that there is any other religion by which people can be free in a country except Christianity. I feel we have seen it time and time again. We have seen this story over and over. The tenet of the United States, the Constitution, the basis of the United States is freedom under God. Freedom under God, the right to do what you need to do, of course, with boundaries. And so, no, we cannot have this country become a Muslim country. We can't do that. But that doesn't mean that you hate Muslims, right? That doesn't mean that you hate them. It means that you say, okay, I know that that's your religion and that you have a right to practice that, but you can't make that this country's religion. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make that the country's religion. We're not going to make Islam the country's religion, but you're allowed to practice it here, so long as you don't hurt other people while trying to practice that religion. There is a big difference between that and everyone who's Muslim wants to take over the United States and make this a Muslim country. Some of them do. Some of them do not. And so I appreciate Megyn Kelly's willingness to open her eyes and say, wait a minute, now that I'm banned because Ben Shapiro has denounced me, everyone hates me, and I've said now out loud that I'm questioning the blue and white motives. Here are my questions. Here's what I think. I commend her for this. This is called waking up and saying, you know what? I've been lied to. I've been propagandized to. I've been brainwashed. And I better get really clear what my values are, because both sides have an agenda and both sides are being run by the same people. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to unknowingly or unwillingly promote certain ideology that I don't agree with. And so I am very happy and terrified for Megyn Kelly for coming out and saying, I will not condemn Candace Owens. I will not denounce Candace Owens. And I am not friends with Ben Shapiro. Not anymore. Because this kind of behavior is not acceptable.
Do you know what I mean?
All of it.
So Megyn Kelly is officially out as a Candace supporter, meaning she's saying, hey, I'm not going to condemn Candace. I'm not going to do the thing that you guys want me to do. I'm not going to come out here and say, I hate Candace. She's a horrible person. She's anti-Semitic. I'm not going to do that. I'm not playing that game with you. And good on Megyn Kelly, because she was losing people with her waffling. She was waffling on that stance, and people were not having it. So I applaud her. I hope that she stays safe, because we all know that once you start supporting a Candace Owens and a Tucker Carlson, things start, again, the water starts to get a little murky in terms of your safety. So I hope that Megyn Kelly stays safe, and I hope that she continues to walk down a path of truth and not down the path of quote unquote Republican, because we're past that now. We're past that. People's eyes have been opened and the seas have parted. And we now know that Donald Trump, you guys, is not even himself. He's not even himself. He is being told what to do. They are using his braggadocious personality to move chess pieces across the board before the next president. That's what's happening. And so, this country is in a very different place. All right, you guys, that's it for today's video. Once we get more information from Candace, I will be back up to debrief her live stream, and I will talk to you guys soon.